Come on and shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. Join award-winning host Dale Davidson as he interviews the most remarkable people you'll find in the entertainment capital of the world. You'll meet entertainers, sports figures, newsmakers, community and business leaders, and people just like you with stories that'll touch your heart. Now, here's Dale Davidson.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. We're very pleased to have with us Juda Myers, who has come into our studios in Las Vegas from Houston, Texas, and the name of her organization is Choices for Life. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we so appreciate it. Choices for Life, how did that come about? How did that name come about, and how did your ministry get started?
Well, the whole organization started when I realized that there was such a need that wasn't being met. Women who were pregnant after rape had so many issues that weren't being addressed. And I thank God for the pregnancy centers, but there are so many more dynamics involved with women who are pregnant after rape. And most people don't even know that these women want their children.
Yeah, it's always treated as the exception,
Right.
as the acceptable exception throughout the pro-life movement. How did that come about? Is that a compromise on the part of pro-life? Is it a door opening for people who are pro-choice? That seems to have always been sort of an accepted standard, you know, rape, molestation, you know, either one of those, it's acceptable. But you're saying it isn't acceptable.
It isn't acceptable, and I think it's a misplaced compassion. People are thinking about the woman, but as one mother told me, it is not compassionate to make a mother the mother of a dead baby.
Wow.
And I know that sounds hard.
Powerful.
But there's not a lot of people who understand that unless they've been through it. I've talked to almost 250 women in the past 10 years, and they have consistently told me nobody believed them. Because of that, and my own mother was one who was not believed.
Not believed that she was raped?
Was not believed. And she was attacked by 8 men. So I just felt compelled that the Lord wanted me to start this organization for them. And it was the very first organization. I believe there may be one other organization that started afterwards. But we are here to help women as well as children from conception all the way to death. We even helped a woman who was a hero mom who saved her baby. We helped her with funeral expenses. Her daughter called me and said that they needed help. So from the moment of conception, we're standing with the mothers, giving them options and solutions that they don't normally get.
You mentioned your personal interest in it. When did you find out that your mother had been raped and was impregnated?
I found out in 2003 when I was searching for my information. I had a court order, and even the person at the agency was very hostile. She didn't.
I read
want me
that
to
in
know.
your book.
That's very sad.
Yeah.
And when I found out that my mother had sent a letter wanting to meet me, and this agency had stopped that from happening until I got a court order. When I met my mother, I'd known that I was conceived in rape, but I did not know the circumstances. And when she told me, it was overwhelming, and I just cried, put my head in her lap, and she said, "Honey, stop your crying. I've forgiven those men. And look what God has done. He's brought you back to me. God is faithful. You helped me heal."
And when you went through that experience, it had to be wrenching. I mean, it had to be personally very, very tough. Tell us how you got beyond that anguish and into an active mode, into a proactive way of dealing with it.
That's a very long story, but I'll give you the abbreviated one.
Sure.
I had a nervous breakdown. As I was looking down, I had this vision, which I'd never had any kind of vision like it before, falling into a deep abyss. My friend, who knew nothing about this, jumps off of her chair and says, "I don't know what's going on with you, but God knew you before you were conceived." Right at that moment, I saw a hand that reached down, grabbed my arm, jerked me into a brilliant light, so bright I couldn't even see. And at that point, I knew that God had created me. And not only had He created me, but He had given me a purpose. I was to glorify His name in what had happened. I wasn't a mistake.
You felt so depressed, feeling that you were an accident. You know, God did not intend for you to be born.
Correct.
But you came to a realization that God doesn't make mistakes.
He doesn't. And if we thought about this logically, God makes all humans. It is the greatest gift that God could ever do to create a human in His image and place that child in the womb of its mother. There's no greater gift. I did not do the crime. And I don't think that anybody else, if they were thinking about this, they wouldn't want to do the crime for somebody else either. You wouldn't want to take a bullet for somebody, especially that you didn't know, you didn't have anything to do with.
Yeah, and it's not the baby's fault. And,
it's not the mother's fault, but they are abused afterwards. I know one girl that I'm working with now that actually was beat up so bad she lost the baby.
Oh, boy.
By friends of the rapist. In some states, the rapists actually have rights to the child. 31 states. Visitation or whatever, just as though they were the parent. Yeah, yeah. The women are not believed. Police don't act like, not every policeman, but the majority of the police, majority of the doctors, majority family, majority of friends. Consistently, for 10 years I've heard this. And so Choices for Life is a necessary organization, reaching out and actually helping these women find comfort, find resources, and know that they are heroes and not whores, as they've been called. Oh, sure. We need to take a brief break from our discussion with Juda Myers. I do want to mention that if you want to reach Juda, or you are facing this kind of a problem yourself, or you need some counseling, you need some help, she can be reached at her website, which is choicesforlife.org. That's www.choices4life.org. When we come back, we'll show a little video from your motion picture here, which is a great documentary. It's called Pro-Life Without Exception, and we'll talk about that a little bit when we get back from the break. We'll be back with Juda Myers right after this.
A potential audience of more than 50 million people is reached every week by Las Vegas Tonight. To keep the important message of Christ's love on the air, we need your prayers and financial blessings. Please send your tax-deductible gift to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For a donation of $25 or more, we'll send you a copy of Dale Davidson's new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You'll love these inspiring stories of Las Vegas Christians who are changing the world. Or donate to the ministry, or order Dale's book by going to vegassaints.org. That's vegassaints.org. Or call us today at 702-480-3989. That's 480-3989. God bless you.
When I was a child, I was molested for several years by my stepfather.
At the age of 15, I was a victim of date rape, and as a result of that, I became pregnant.
Before the weekend was over, I had become victim to an acquaintance rape that had happened.
I wasn't devastated about the baby as much as I was devastated about the rape. The baby was a highlight.
My mother was raped at 13 years old in 1972. She had me when she was 14 on July 20th, 1973.
My daughter's birth mother was raped at 13. She is basically all of the hard cases that you've ever heard put forward by those who are abortion supporters.
I told her, I said, I just want to tell you one other thing. I want to thank you for giving me life and not taking my life.
It was a real shock to find out that I in fact had an anencephalic baby.
Why is it that my life is expendable to you?
And I hope that people will listen to the children of rape conception and the mothers who've either had us or aborted my peers and know the truth.
When a child is conceived through rape or incest, the mother is often pressured to abort against her will by the perpetrator or family members who just want the problem to go away. But this is the worst possible situation for a woman to have an abortion. It only compounds and exacerbates the feelings of trauma, guilt, and shame that accompany the rape, to such a degree that some say it's a second violation of their person. But when a mother finds the strength to give birth to her child, she is encouraged to be a better person for their sake. She is comforted by the natural human love and affection from her baby. She finds hope and redemption through the process to such a degree that they will say that if they had to suffer it all over again, they would do so for the sake of their child.
When I was a child, I was molested for several years by my stepfather. I became pregnant the first time when I was 12. He gave me some pills, he punched me in the stomach, and he forced me to miscarry my child. Nobody knew, so the abuse continued. When I became 13, I became pregnant again. This time I hid it from him. I went and I told my mom. She got us out of that situation. Police were called, they arrested him. He ended up going to jail for 10 years. The court ordered me to see therapists and see doctors and everything else that an abuse victim needs and a pregnant person needs. I was told by friends, by some of my own family members, by several people within the court system, within the public within churches, that I should take care of this and not carry the baby to term, because it would make it easier for me to just forget about what happened and to move on with my life. But when I was 13 and 14 years old and I didn't know how to deal with it, and I was having flashbacks, I had this little bitty baby. My mom would come her in and put her in my arms, and I could see this precious little face, this teeny tiny little face, because she was a tiny little thing. And it gave me hope. It gave me a reason to get up in the morning, because instead of the fear and the dread that I had been living with for years, I now had this child that I looked forward to hearing her giggle and seeing her smile, and a child that I could work for to maybe make a better life for. Someone that I could watch over and make sure nothing happened to her. She gave me a purpose. When people try to use rape and incest to justify abortion, it infuriates me. I was a 13-year-old child and I was nothing special. If I could do it and have that child help me heal at 13, anybody can do it, and that child will help them heal. God gives you this child as a blessing out of something horrible. It's your beauty from your ashes. It's the only good thing you will get out of that situation. And when they claim that aborting a child out of rape or incest helps the mother, I've had that too, and that hurts forever, for years afterwards. Having the child heals. I can see each and every choice I made, and each and every step I took was guided by God. He's the one that got me through it. He held me up when I couldn't stand anymore. He held my hand and walked me through it when I was just about to break down. He's the one that gave me Josie so that I could live through this and heal from this. Anything done to me is nothing compared to the joy I've had with Josie. As ornery as she can be sometimes. If I knew from the beginning, yes, I would do it all over again. I would go through every second of it.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm Dale Davidson with Juda Myers of Choices for Life. And her website is choicesforlife.org. Choices, the number 4life.org. And Juda is pleased to accept your calls at area code 281-451-8460. And we'll put that up. So anybody who is facing this kind of a life issue right now and you need some help or you want to talk to Juda, please give her a call. That's very generous of you. That was a powerful video that we watched during the break.
And there's so many more testimonies like that. That's just like a drop in the bucket, as they say.
Wow.
There are so many, many more over and over, and it's always the same consistency. They always say the same thing.
What?
And even the ones who have aborted, we help women
Post-abortive.
Post-abortive who have aborted, rape, conceived. So let's say out of the 250 people that I've talked to, there have been 10 that have aborted. Out of the 10, 8 actually were suicidal. The other 2 had just had abortions, and while they were acting out, they didn't understand that the reason why they were depressed and all this, they weren't acknowledging that it was from the abortion.
Oh, okay.
So out of the 8 that were suicidal, 3 tried to commit suicide. And every one of them, except for the 2 that had just gone through it, whether it was 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, they regretted, and they always thought about their baby.
What do you say to people who are under the belief, misconception really, from what you're saying, that a woman shouldn't be forced, in effect, to keep a baby that she didn't want, that she feels her body was, not feels, her body was violated to create that baby. I think, as you say, you mentioned and when we first were speaking, that this is sort of misplaced compassion. But what do you say to people who say, come on, that's just too tough? I mean, it's too tough not to have that exception.
Well, if you actually talk to the women, they said that it's not too tough. And if a woman was about to jump off a bridge, would we force her not to do that? One woman who had an abortion for her child and was so bad, she was anorexic, she tried to commit suicide, and what she said was she was attacked and she was allowed to live, but she turned around and she became the aggressor on her precious little baby, and she killed that baby. And now she couldn't live with herself because she said she was worse than the rapist, because now she's a murderer. This is what women are telling me. I had no idea. You know, I was conceived in rape. 8 men raped my mother. But I did not know all this. And because I speak internationally, people come to me and talk to me because I will believe them, because I know what other women feel like and what children of rape conception feel like. And so because of that, they share their personal stories with me each and every time.
Let's talk about what the children have to say, those who were conceived in rape. What's the common thread there?
We are so grateful to our mothers for fighting society to give birth to us. Because my grandmother wanted me aborted, the doctor wanted me aborted, and I was conceived in 56, born in 57, when we thought that wasn't legal. That wasn't thought of. Yet here's a doctor in the hospital that would, quote, take care of it.
Was willing to do it.
But my mother said, you're not going to take care of it. It is my baby. See, when you say these things about a baby that a woman's carrying, you're identifying that with her. So if that baby's not worth keeping, maybe she's not worth living, worth living. So there's a confusion here that society keeps adding to the problem. And I call it abuse after abuse.
Yeah, it's as we mentioned, 2 wrongs don't make a right. But are you making headway with state legislatures, with judges, with pro-life groups? Because I think they often see this as a reasonable exception. What kind of headway are you making in your speaking tours, for example?
When I go out and speak, I've actually had men come up to me crying and asking for forgiveness because they said that they thought that it was the best thing for the woman, and now hearing from the women, they know that that's not true. The people who are willing to listen, like there are legislators that feel like their hands are tied, because this is the excuse I get. When we fight for legislation, they know it's not going to happen if they don't put in the sacrificial rape conceived child. And so,
and it's seen as extreme currently, that's an extreme position to take.
But it's an extreme position to take, that you kill an innocent person. I'm alive today because my mother didn't believe I was some kind of a monster that society thinks the woman's going to think of. And we do not force anyone to keep the baby. Adoption's a wonderful option. I was adopted. It's wonderful, and today we have open adoptions where the mother can have as much or as little to do with the child as she wants, but she's still a hero. And everybody wants to be a hero. So what better way of being a hero than to save the life of an innocent child? It's only 9 months. And usually 3 months of it, we don't even know we're pregnant. So it's not that long.
Yeah, that's and a hero you are too, by the way. You know, it's an incredible job that you're doing, and
God be the glory.
I know you face a lot of opposition, and we're gonna come back and talk about that a little bit in a second. We'll be back with more with Juda Myers on Las Vegas Tonight, right after these messages. Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you're enjoying Las Vegas Tonight. The guests we've had on the program are wonderful examples of Christians who take seriously Christ's command to love one another. In addition to the hundreds of television stations across the United States now carrying our show, we have been presented with the outstanding opportunity to bring these inspiring stories to people around the world. An international satellite network in the Russian and Ukrainian languages has asked us to provide them with episodes to be broadcast to millions. To make a gift to support this very special effort, please send your check or money order to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To use your credit or debit card, call 702-480-3989. Thank you, and God bless you.
When I met my mother, as I said, she was in a wheelchair, and I knelt down beside her and we talked for a little while until we got used to each other, and I asked her what were the circumstances of my conception. When she told me, I broke down crying and I placed my head in her lap, and she patted me on the shoulder and she says, "Honey, stop your crying. I've forgiven those men, and look what God has done. He's brought you back to me. God is faithful." She had prayed for 48 years. Some people pray for a long time and they don't see answers to their prayer. Doesn't mean God hasn't heard. She consistently prayed, and 48 years later, her prayers are answered. And when she said she forgave those men, I said, then I can't not forgive them. I have to forgive them. The Bible says that if we do not forgive, we will not be forgiven, and that was Jesus' words. So many times we don't think about the legacy that women will leave giving birth to one child. My mother gave birth to me. I gave birth to 2 sons, and each one of my sons has 2 sons. So now my mother has saved 7 people. It's far more reaching than just one baby. So many people say that we are demon seeds, that we're putting out bad genes in society. I have to say that my oldest son is an ordained minister. So if you want to say that the grandson of a rapist couldn't possibly turn out to be anything good, or the daughter of a rapist couldn't become anything good, it's our choice. We become what we want to become. I could be evil at any time I wanted to. I don't want to. Everyone has that choice. And that's what real choice is about. Not about eliminating one person or another, but about being good or being bad. And it all depends on an individual, not where I came from. And the more women that I see and talk to, the more it validates that women don't want to get rid of their children conceived in rape. In fact, they hurt more in cases of rape when they have abortions, because I've been told that in the case of rape, the woman survived, but then she turns around and becomes the aggressor. A woman can never turn back the hands of time after killing her baby, and she has to think about that for the rest of her life. But if she does give birth to the child, it's physically better for her, it's mentally better for her, and if she chooses to place the child for adoption, which in cases that I've seen, hundreds of women have given birth and chosen to raise their children. I just think that people don't think this thing through, and people don't want to talk about their rape pregnancy experience. And now it's coming forward. And I hope that people will listen to the children of rape conception and the mothers who've either had us or aborted my peers and know the truth. I have value that is intrinsic because God created me.
My mother was raped at 13 years old in 1972. She had me when she was 14 on July 20th, 1973. My grandmother told her she would get an abortion. One way or the other, she would get an abortion, and my mother refused, and that's something you didn't do, is tell my grandmother no. But she did. She refused, and it was a huge fight in her house for a good month and a half or 2 months, but finally she saw she wasn't giving in. My mother was not giving in to pressure. She would not be bullied, I guess, or forced into having an abortion. And then it was suggested that she would give me up for adoption, and adoption's great. It's a wonderful thing, but she wanted to raise me. It wasn't my fault that she was raped, and she wanted to raise her baby, and she did. Later in life, God continued to show me I had questions still. Why would I be conceived in rape? Why would God want me? What purpose would He ever have for me? And I guess when my son was born, I knew His purpose for me. Every time I looked at that child, I knew. When Cade was 4, I knew that he was going into the ministry. I knew where that child's heart was, and it was in Christ. And then 5 years later, I had Sydney, and there's another child, and she's a little bit more challenging, but she loves the Lord, and she's on fire. And God keeps showing me His purpose over and over and over again of why He let me come into this world, why He wanted me to be here. He has a plan and a purpose for any life that is created, whether it is created in rape, whether it is created in the love and confines of marriage. He creates life, not us. I came face to face with my mother's rapist one day when I was at work, and I knew it was him because I'd always known his name. I had to wait on him and his family. I was working at a physician's office, and I'm sitting there, and I had called my mother, and I said, "Pray for me." He walked in with his family, "Pray for me." And they came up to my counter, and I assisted them, handshaking. I don't know how. It was not evident. He didn't recognize me. He didn't know who I was. He left. And then it wasn't a few weeks later, we were in the emergency room, my mom and me, with Sydney, my baby, and he walked in, and you could see it on his face. The color left him. And he knew who I was. But at that time, I had never been face to face with him. I'd never had to face him. But I did, and when I faced him, I was angry, I was hurt, and God spoke to me. I had to forgive him. He kept speaking it, and I was like, God, I don't know if I can forgive him. And he kept speaking, and He said, you have to forgive him, because as long as you don't forgive him, he's got a hold on your life. So I forgave him. I even told him I forgave him. He called my mother a liar. I told him I forgave him anyway.
My daughter's birth mother was raped at 13. She is basically all of the hard cases that you've ever heard put forward by those who are abortion supporters. She was very young, 13 years old. She was a victim of rape. They told her something was wrong with her baby. Her baby was biracial, and nobody would want a biracial rapist baby. she was, her birth mom was told that she did need to go forward with the abortion because if she didn't consent to the abortion, she would die. They told her she was far too young to carry a pregnancy to term and deliver a baby. She was actually taken in for the abortion, and they had started the procedure. They found that she was 20 weeks pregnant, so this would be a second trimester abortion, and she was on the table in the stirrups, and they had started the procedure on her after they had first told her that at 20 weeks a baby's not even formed yet. So they had to stop the abortion procedure because she was in so much pain. So Jalen is an abortion survivor. They had actually started the procedure on her mother, and she, as a result of that, has some challenges. She has some special needs that she's dealing with, and she will have these challenges for the rest of her life. So she's got the rape hard case, she's got the something's wrong with your baby hard case, and she's got life of the mother, but add that she's also, she has special needs. She's an abortion survivor. Her birth mother was 13, very young, and unable to even get a driver's license or a job, and she was in 8th grade, so no family support. So Jalen really is a miracle that she survived, and that her birth mother found the strength and the courage to stand up for her and carry her. As for our family personally, oh my goodness, the things that we have learned, I mean, just incredible patience, and you have to have a servant's heart to be able to do this. It's taught us that, you know, you really have to get down and serve in a completely different way. It's one thing when you have biological children who have all, you know, their typical needs, where you have to have patience and take care of them. It's different when you're entrusted with a child by another human being, and then that child has special needs that require just a completely different level. I mean, we just had to go to a different level than we even realized we were capable of. I think if you'd asked us prior to adopting, and we would have kind of hesitated, I'm not sure if I could do that, but through God, I mean, we know now that we have a lot more strength than we gave ourselves credit for. Our other children, I mean, they are learning lessons that we could have told them, we could have talked to them about, we could have read them stories, but they are learning that life, all life, is really valuable, that it doesn't make any difference if the child is rape conceived or special needs or of a different race or whatever their abilities, anything. None of that makes any difference. They are worthy of respect and dignity. Their life is valuable because they are made in the image of God, and I could have told them that all day. They are living that now. They have learned empathy in a way that they never would have had they not had this opportunity, and they're learning to just have a tenderness towards their sister and her friends that are also special needs. Jalen is a worshiper. The girl loves to go to church. She loves to sing as loud as possible. You can hear her over the entire crowd belting it out, and she'll go up front, she'll throw her hands up in the air and sing, and she likes to get down and pray. She'll get on her knees and pray, and she'll be in tears. I've never seen a child do that before, and it's so unique. It's amazing to be able to witness something like that. She has a heart for other special needs children. She can pick them out of a crowd. We're at a birthday party and there's all these other kids around. She's not paying any attention to them, and a mother comes walking through the yard and she's carrying her child on her hip, and my daughter goes right up to her, and the little girl turns around and she has Downs, and my daughter's like, "Hi, what's your name?" And that's who she stuck with the entire time. Her best friend in school is a little boy named Juda, and he is he's adopted son of friends of ours, and he's a victim of shaken baby. He's blind, he's mostly deaf, he's in a wheelchair, and Jalen loves him to pieces, and he can hear the tone of her voice, and she sings to him and he laughs and smiles, and it is just amazing. She loves to pet his face and hold his hands. And the other thing about Jalen is she is a complete and total daddy's girl. I love that because God knew that she had that heart to be a daddy's girl, and in her situation she wouldn't have had a father figure.
Jay, who's your best friend?
Daddy.
And?
You.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson, and we are with Juda Myers, who is talking about her organization called Choices for Life, and her speaking all around the world about the rape exception when it comes to the pro-life movement. Do you feel, I asked you earlier if you felt you were making headway, looking out to the future, do you think a time will come where this is genuinely not considered to be acceptable to have a rape and incest exception?
I'm hoping, just like with the Jews, and they had to prove that they weren't animals in the Holocaust, just like blacks, they fought to be considered equal humans, as they are. It's the same prejudice against the rape conceived. We've been called demon seeds. We have been called bad genes to our face. And I want to say that even the whole world has bad genes, because God says that we have bad genes.
Original sin, going back to the Garden of Eden.
Exactly. We all have the murderer gene because Cain killed Abel.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm hoping that one day they will see us as the real humans that we are. And you know, most of my peers love the Lord. That was really a surprise to me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if that was a surprise.
Big surprise to me that most of my peers love God. We are absolutely sure of where we came from. I like to say we were conceived in the mind of God, not in the loins of man. Because in Jeremiah, he tells us that before he even knit us in our womb, he knew us. So we have lots of purpose. And I think someday people, even if they don't believe in God, they were going to accept us as humans and come to the realization that our mothers want and need us.
Sure they do. Let's talk about your book for just a minute. I want to make sure we get to this before we have to wrap up. Tell us a little bit about Hostile Conception, Living with Purpose. When did you write this, and why did you write this?
I wrote this because God told me to, and you know, you hear that all the time. And I didn't want to do it, so I said, okay, you and me, God, let's go do this. And in 2 weeks it was written.
Wow.
It is about my story, but mostly it's about everybody's story with a rape conception situation. And also, my mother forgave those men.
That's amazing.
I've forgiven.
That's amazing.
And so Jesus said, if we don't forgive, we will not be forgiven. And my slogan is, I will not go to hell for something you did to me. So I'm going to forgive. This book has step-by-step instructions on how to forgive any offense. Any offense. It's biblical. I didn't come up with this.
Yeah, that's right.
I just paraphrased what God already said.
Yeah, yeah.
And it works.
Have you gotten, how long's the book been out?
Since 2006.
And what kind of comments are you getting from people who are either in the same kind of position that you were in, or they're having forgiveness issues on other problems? What kind of response are you getting?
You know how God is. He'll take one issue and he'll just milk that and get all kinds of glory from all sides. And this is no different, because I have one particular story, 72-year-old man who had been abused as a child, didn't even finish school. He had the forgiveness issues. He said he still heard his mother say horrible things to him, and she was dead.
Oh.
And he still heard her voice. He read the book, and he called me and he said, I am healed. I don't hear her voice anymore.
Wow.
For people who have been raped and pregnant, they're not alone. They see this book as, wow, somebody else was just like me. The children of rape conception, they come up to me and they tell me, I thought I was all alone.
Oh.
So I'm no different. And so God is just touching so many lives with his purpose. Because if I would have listened to society, I would be dead right now. But I listened to God, my Creator, and I'm not only alive because of him, but I have a purpose. And you know, everybody has the same purpose. It's to glorify God. It's how you do it that differs.
Let's talk about, if you don't mind, talk about the DVD briefly again. Have you used Pro-Life Without Exception, the 1-hour documentary, as a tool in talking with legislators on this issue?
I'm glad you asked that, because this is hot off the press. This is a brand new documentary, and it is a powerful documentary that I think everybody needs to see. And we are offering this DVD to churches if they will just show it in their congregation. We're calling it Movie Night and Conversation with the Congregation. I would love to come out and have question and answers as well.
You'll go and speak?
I would go and speak.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, so I would love just to get this in the hands of people who are part of groups, whether it's a women's group, whether it's a high school group, PTA, anything. This is not a disturbing graphic movie. This is an uplifting, powerful, victorious testimonial of life without exception.
And not just for churches, for secular groups, for the Rotaries and Optimist clubs of the world, to let people know that this is not an acceptable exception anymore, and people need to look at this. And politicians are often in the fray. Do they understand the distinction
Some of them
here?
do.
Yeah.
If they're talked to and they're given these points from the women themselves, they understand it better. Because people are talking for us, and sadly, they're not listening.
Wow. Well, we hope that we've done a good job of listening.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on the show. Judah Myers of Choices for Life. We once again want to mention your website, which is choicesforlife.org, which is choices, the number 4, life.org. And her telephone number is 281-451-8460. And she would welcome your call if you have any kind of personal issue that deals with this or any forgiveness type issue. You'd be happy to talk to them.
I teach on forgiveness as well. You can find me on Facebook, Judah Myers.
That's wonderful. Judah Myers, thank you so much for coming in to Las Vegas tonight. Please, next time you're headed this way, and we know you have a grandbaby here, so it won't be that long.
That's true. Brand new baby girl.
Oh, that's wonderful. Please stop by and update us on your travels.
I will.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight. We very much appreciate Judah Myers coming in to see us. God bless you. Thank you for watching, and please walk with Him.
Drawn by the lights, glamour, and opportunities in Sin City, they come from all over the world, searching for their chance to be a pretty woman, a success, or maybe just to have a better life. Be somebody. What happened after they got here is literally changing the world. From the story of Tommy Scott, a former gang enforcer turned Christian evangelist, to the Hookers for Jesus Outreach Ministry, to the heart-wrenching story of Arturo Martinez and his heroic act of forgiving the man who assaulted and murdered his wife and 10-year-old daughter. Las Vegas Tonight presents an extraordinary depiction of Las Vegas as a city of transformation, from Sin City to Vegas Saints. Las Vegas Tonight, from Sin City to Vegas Saints, a collection of true stories of transformation, people whose lives were transformed, and people who are now transforming the world.
Well, I was a college student. I was a junior in college, and when the rape occurred, and I came home after I realized that I was pregnant, and I came home, and I had to tell my mom and my dad that I was expecting this baby, and the situation that had happened, that it had been rape, it wasn't anything that I had volunteered to do. And I was really happy about the way that they were so supportive of me. And both of them, my mom and my dad, were both really there for me during that period. She said, well, we're going to have this baby together. And I had a lot of support from my parents. But I was pressured to abort by other family members. And they were telling me things like, you don't know what's in the genes. He could be a crazy man. If he raped you, it could be something in the genes, and then you have a baby that's going to be crazy and do crazy things. But I had grown up in the church, and we had discussed life and how life was created, and that only God can create life. Man may be a tool that He uses, but only God can give that child breath. and life. And that stuck so with me that it just wasn't even a thought that I pondered that much to abort that baby. And with the support of my mom and dad, I knew that I didn't even have to consider that. And so when I felt that baby to move in my stomach, it really became real to me that this was an actual human being that I was carrying. And I got excited about it. I was really excited to have this child because I felt it. It moved. It was a person. And it was going to be something that I can love. And I had people asking me a lot about, well, won't that, if you have this baby, you won't ever be able to forget, how it was conceived and all of that. But when Clarissa was born, and I looked down at that little old fat black baby with all the big old loopy curls in his hair, no thoughts of that guy came to me. It was just, this is my child. This is my baby. And she had this big old smile, and I just fell in love with her. I fell in love with her before she was born. I fell in love with her when she kicked in my belly. But when she was actually born and I was able to hold that child, it was just precious to me. And I have no regrets for having this child. When I think about the life that Christ gave, he gave his life to save us. And he didn't have that personal relationship like I would have with a child that's growing in my belly. He didn't have that. But yet, he gave his life for me. And so I'm going to kill this child so that I can live? Nah, I don't think so.
And so when she explained to me what happened and how I was conceived, I wasn't upset or angry or anything. In fact, I was actually sort of proud at the fact that I was raised the way I was, and my mom was so strong to raise me by herself, considering, all this had happened to her. And, I wasn't angry at him or anything like that. It had been so long. I had a good life.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with Dale Davidson. Send your tax-deductible gifts to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. Or call 702-480-3989. Thanks for watching.